Boris says, hello, in one interview you mentioned that there is some kind of grid around the world that when one dies, deletes all the memory from the human being, and then the soul is ready to reincarnate again. In one other interview you said that in order to exit the cycle of birth and death, we just have to intend to go back to the source when we die. Wouldn't that grid interfere and make us forget where we want to go? Best regards, Boris.
Thanks, Boris. You've probably misunderstood what I've said. It is not the grid that makes you forget. The grid is the trap. It's the prison. When a person attempts to either go back to their star family or back to the creator source, they pass into the grid, and just like a fly hits an electric fence or an electric net, it gets a zap. But that zap is not designed to remove your memory. That's designed to capture you. You're taken to, I can only use the word, a holding station. There was one person who had a memory of this place. Phenomenal to have a memory, and she called it the freeze box. That's her own word for it. And this is where your memory is wiped, and then you return to Earth. Now, in most cases, this is a permanent removal of that last lifetime's memory. But occasionally the system doesn't work properly, or the individual is so spiritual or so strong or so bloody minded that it's only a partial wipe. So it's not the mesh, it's not the net that gives you the amnesia. It is what my friend called the freeze box. It is the holding station, and that returns you. Now, we know that aliens who are quite advanced can pass through the net. We know that people on this planet, humans who have spent many, many years seeking enlightenment, have the capability to pass through it. And there are people who don't spend years seeking enlightenment and just have it, the skill, and they'll pass through it. And what I've said is that for those of us who don't have that automatic get out of jail free card, the best thing you can do is say to yourself every night, I want to go home, I want to go to source, or I want to go to star family. Because you see, when the day comes or the night comes when your physical body dies, and most people die in their sleep, you will wake up, using the word loosely here, you'll wake up in the morning and you will not know you're dead. You won't know you're dead. It'll be another morning, but what will happen is you won't be able to move your arms and legs. And that's when you think, oh, am I dead? But there's no fear, there's no panic, because you're removed from the 3D stroke 4D drama. So that's gone. And then here's where the trickery comes in now, probably a holograph, something like that. Somebody comes and stands by the bedside to collect you. So I made a joke with one of my clients the other day, and I said, if you were a stamp collector, you love stamps and you spent all your life collecting stamps. There was a guy called Stanley Gibbons who created a stamp album, and a very famous Stanley Gibbons stamp album. And he might come and collect you, or if you're a very devout Catholic, it might be the Virgin Mary herself, X, Y, and Z. So these people are very busy because there are lots and lots of people dying at the same moment over the planet, and then maybe that Jesus is very popular, and that Jesus would have to be everywhere at once. So I don't believe this is true at all. I think these are holographic images designed to play upon your own wishes. And then they take you and they say, come to the light, and you go to the light, you're zapped, brought back again. You may or may not remember anything. And people say, well, should I go to the light? Conflicting rules here, or evidence. And I say, what does Hollywood tell you to do? Time and time again, in film after film, Hollywood portrays this tunnel of light, and you go towards the light. And so if that's what Hollywood's telling you to do, don't do it. Okay, don't do what Hollywood tells you to do. So I hope that helps. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Noch eine kurze Erklärung von mir. Der Simon sagt an einer Stelle, dass man sich abends vor dem Einschlafen sagen soll, dass man zur Sternenfamilie möchte oder dergleichen. Dabei handelt es sich um Autosuggestion. Das ist ein Verfahren, das jeder gerne selber lernen kann und durchführen kann. Und zwar basiert es darauf, dass man kurz vor dem Einschlafen in einen veränderten Bewusstseinszustand überwechselt, wo man Zugriff hat aufs Unterbewusstsein oder Zugriff erlangen kann. Eine weitere Methode natürlich, um etwas zu erfahren über andere Leben oder auch den Zwischenzustand, das ist die Hypnose.
George says, Dear Mr. Parks, some time ago I was hearing some of your statements and interviews, and now for about a month I followed your information and answers to questions. Many times when you respond, you say dimensions, and this is when I find it difficult to follow you. I really like to hear you, so I'd like you to explain to me, please, as detailed as possible, what you mean and what you understand by dimensions. I thank you very much in advance. And I wish you the best, and I hope that one day we will all be free.
So do I, thank you. Well, I'll give you the organic brain version first. Thank goodness for the Hadron Collider at CERN. People would be surprised to hear me say that. And of course I don't really mean that, do I? But a year and a bit ago, they actually officially announced that the fourth dimension could be proven to exist. Hallelujah. So the CERN Hadron Collider officially has proven that the fourth dimension exists, and they punched a tiny little hole about 1 millimeter across through into the fourth dimension. And that's really important, simply because people like myself and many others who've been talking about dimensions can't be laughed at anymore, because here we have the tie and shirt and suited brigade, or the white jacket, the white coat brigade, the scientific brigade, pontificating that they have discovered the fourth dimension really exists. Good. So we've got that. That's the 3D element of it. A dimension is a reality that might appear to a scientist as thin as a piece of paper, but because time doesn't operate as we understand it, you might be able to get the city the size of New Orleans in there. The biggest jump in all of the dimensions is between the third and the fourth. Not between the 6th and the 9th, or the 10th and the 12th, though the 12th is special, but between the third and the fourth. Because when you go into the fourth dimension, the concept of time in the fourth is relatively similar to the concept of time in the 5th, 6th and 7th. So the big problem we have here in the third reality is our understanding and our interaction with the physical concept of time.
Okay, so the next question is from Thomas, who says, I had my first session with you. You told me that I'm Pleiadian and here for the first time, which is very rare, and that they, the bad guys, know exactly who I am.
Yep.
Not so long ago, I had such an experience of a metal spider, he's put spider in speech marks, spying on me at night from the ceiling of the bedroom. What would you say, out of your experience over the years, in the proportion of star seeds currently having their first incarnation? 1 out of 50 or 1 out of 100? And overall, what's roughly estimated experience in the proportion of different star seeds now?
Okay, that's a very math question.
And he hasn't. He just mentioned the spider.
No, I was going to.
I thought he was going to ask a question regarding that.
For me, the most important that isn't what you've said. It's the spider. The spider is AI. They can be semi-organic or they can be robotic, and depending. And I always ask the question when I get to the opportunity to do is, did you see it move? And if you saw it move, how did it move? And then I will, try and with my hands try and show, because the answer there tells me whether it's AI or whether it's semi-organic, and therefore who's behind it, who's pulling the strings. The spider is a spy. It's there to observe anybody who is psychic, anybody who has broken free of the matrix. I'm using the word deliberately. Can be expected to be visited by these things. They typically, when you first wake up in the morning, this is typically when you see them, they are on the ceiling or on the wall, and they will move either up the wall, down the wall, or across the ceiling, and they will enter a portal. So they won't disappear behind a bookcase, they will just vanish as they enter a portal. That's fourth dimensional technology, dependent on what that creature is. It's whether it's run by a reptilian type force or whether it's run by an artificial intelligence force. In terms of the sort of question you were asking about first time incarnated Pleiadian, there are tons of Pleiadian people on the planet. President Trump is a mixture of Pleiadian and Andromedan. Being a first person here is unusual. But there are first-time reptilian people, Andromedan, Lyran. It's in the queue when you get here, basically, or you decide this is the right time. So, while I can't give you a percentage or a factor, I would just say that it is unusual, and it's more pressure on you because you haven't had lots of incarnations on this earth to have several goes at doing what it is you wanted to do. Now, it doesn't mean that you've got 100,000 lifetimes ahead of you. It might be that this is your one and only shot at doing whatever it is you need to do. But it is unusual, but it's not unique. Okay, thank you.
Ich habe diesen kleinen Auszug aus einem der neuesten Videos von Simon Parkes übersetzt und herausgesucht, weil es mir besonders außergewöhnlich erschien und ich davon auch noch nie gehört habe. Muss ich zugeben, ich habe schon einiges gehört, aber das noch nicht. Die meisten von uns werden von einem solchen Spinnenbesuch wohl kaum betroffen sein und können das gar nicht überprüfen, weil, ich meine, wer ist schon mit übersinnlichen Fähigkeiten ausgestattet oder kann sich aus der Matrix losreißen? Wer sich übrigens für das Thema interessiert, kann den YouTube-Kanal von den Matrixern mit Doppel-X aufsuchen. Die lassen sich darüber sehr ausgiebig aus, über dieses Thema, wie man die Matrix verlassen kann. Und in dem Zusammenhang mit Simon Parkes habe ich einmal recherchiert, was es über ihn zu lesen gibt. Leider hat er ja selber keine Bücher veröffentlicht, aber es gibt da im Nexus-Magazin, das ich euch unten verlinke, ein sehr langes, informatives Interview, wo er sich übrigens auch über David Icke äußert. Ich habe mir das selber auch angeschafft und durchgelesen und kann es euch empfehlen.